In 2017 and 18, seekers from all over the globe gathered at Kanha Shantivanam, the world's largest heartfulness center near Hyderabad in India. They came together to intensify their practice of meditation and also deepen their understanding of 10 guidelines for daily living that form an integral part of the Heartfulness movement. These 10 maxims were written in the 1940s by the great spiritual scientist Chandra of Shahjahanpur, affectionately referred to as Babuji. They were the result of Babuji's lifelong spiritual practice, observation of the vibratory patterns of nature, and direct experience under the tutelage of his guide, Daaji Maharaj. Babuji offered a simple method called Sahaj Marg, or the natural path, as a means for spiritual evolution. A heart-based meditation practice assisted by yogic transmission. The sessions at Kanha Shantivanam were conducted by Kamlesh T. Patel, or Daaji, global guide of the Heartfulness movement. Begin your meditation with a prayer for spiritual elevation. Offer your prayer in such a way that the heart is filled with love.
To my heart, Maxim 2, the summary of Sahaj Marg. The entire philosophy is here in this Maxim 2.
Prayer is spirituality's beating heart. It represents common ground among many spiritual ways. Prayer is an essential way to connect with something higher than ourselves. However, prayer as conventionally understood often arises from fear or the desire for some form of material fulfillment. Such prayers unknowingly define and limit the very idea of God. A prayer for wealth limits God to the role of the giver of wealth. A prayer for protection limits his role to that of a protector. A prayer for health limits him to the role of a health giver, and so on. A prayer for spiritual elevation, on the other hand, is essentially an inner cry of the heart. It is a feeling that cannot be manipulated by the logical mind. It has a different depth and intensity according to the person offering the prayer. It seeks none of God's gifts but God Himself. Such a prayer does not define the indefinable, nor limit the limitless. In reality, it is practically impossible to speak truthfully of God, who is without form and attributes. Even the word God and the attribution of a gender to Him are mere linguistic conventions. The prayer offered by heartfulness practitioners across the globe is one that Babuji himself had recommended. It is short and concise, containing 3 statements of fact. It reads, O Master, Thou art the real goal of human life. We are yet but slaves of wishes, putting bar to our advancement. Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage.
When we say, oh Master, who is this Master? Babuji Maharaj emphatically said again and again, the Master who is being addressed here is God. Indirectly, he had suggested in this Maxim too also, whom are we addressing this prayer? It is that we are addressing this prayer to that entity who is part of us from the very beginning of creation. It has hidden itself within us. And it is because of this entity we continue to thrive. We incarnate and we reincarnate. This entity carries itself with us. In fact, this us and entity, they are same thing. So it is a true Master, one that gives us life.
The prayer states the condition we find ourselves in. Our desires often define our lives. When a desire is fulfilled, we are happy. And when a desire is not fulfilled, we are sad. In between lies a whole spectrum of emotions and feelings.
You are addressing him, telling him, you are my goal. These are the things which bothers me and can't, because of which I am not able to progress. Which is a fact of life, that the desires that we entertain, they become the stumbling block. And then we also refer to him and say, Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage. We recognize the role of God in our life, that without His help, we are unable to move forward. Though we often pray, regularly pray, somehow we think we are praying for myself as an individual. Though it is clearly mentioned, we are yet but slaves of wishes, we. Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage. See, we, our and us is there. Yet we end up making this mistake that it is about myself. So when prayer is offered, it is offered for us all, as a unit, as humanity as a unit, and as our consciousness evolves, we include all that exists in this existence.
The second part of the Maxim recommends that we offer prayer in such a way that the heart is filled with love. Divinity can only be sustained in a place that is completely divested of all the desires of the lower self. Love creates such a selfless place in our hearts. Babuji quoted a poem, O thou, thirsty for the divine intoxication, empty thy heart for the purpose, for the head of the bottle of wine bows down only over an empty cup.
If heart is not filled with love, don't insult God. Don't play with words. Create that thing inside. And then, and only then, offer the prayer.
When we identify with our higher self, we abide in a permanently prayerful state. However, we also sometimes identify ourselves with our physical body and subtle bodies comprising the mind, intellect, ego, and consciousness, or manas, buddhi, ahankar, and chit.
When we make a mistake of identifying ourselves with external manifestation or with subtle bodies like chit, manas, buddhi and ahankar, then there are problems. When we are away from the source, let us say there's a light and you are away from the light. More and more distance is created, what will happen? The length of your shadow will be even bigger. Ignorance will be greater with distance coming between the objects, source and the object. So, when I perceive myself mentally, use intellect and observe my ego through the prevailing consciousness, it creates a lot of problems. But if I try to operate from the source itself and try to see from within outside, things will look different. Things will be more real. Don't participate as you are, but continue participating, thinking yourself as the third party and witnessing the thing. Be a witness to your own actions. So the I, when it refers to I, it's no longer referring to this person, but there is another person who is hidden behind me, who keeps life going on all the time, which keeps our consciousness alive, which keeps our body thrive. That entity, you may call it as soul, or you may call it as God, or you may call it higher self. It's within us. And when we close our eyes, we are trying to feel His presence and be grateful. And it is to that entity we are thankful for giving us life. When that entity decides to go, this body drops. We call it death.
Our attitude has a profound effect on our spiritual life and sets the course for the inner journey. It is vital to pay attention to it and mold it in accordance with our aim.
Practice, though, contributes a lot towards our evolution. It hardly contributes 5% towards our success. 95% plus is attributed to attitude. How you are practicing, with what sentiments, what attitude you have in your heart, and offering that to God. When we offer prayer, what is our state of mind? See? Moment we say, "Oh Lord, oh Master," immediately the sense of insignificance just pours out in us. "Oh Master," and then a sense of helplessness, sense of that, "My Lord, I know nothing, please help." This comes up. Also the awareness begins inside that I do not know much.
Bhakti Bhav, or the attitude of a devotee, is also ingrained in the words of Maxim 2, and the Heartfulness prayer.
Just as, there are scenarios where the raindrops falling in the ocean and becomes the ocean themselves. That's the situation with devotees. Their heart melts away in God. They are true devotees. Now, when they offer prayers and when they meditate, what will be their fragrance, their aroma, their attitude? They wait anxiously. In fact, that waiting itself becomes meditation for them. And when the actual time comes for meditation, it's like a quantum leap. It's like a rocket launched straight up. So attitude is very important, very receptive in the beginning. So with this receptivity, when we offer prayer, when we close our eyes gently, everything happens then, in that very first moment.
The great Sufi, Hazrat Amir Khusro, has written some beautiful lines that aptly encapsulate the state of mind of a true devotee. खुसरो बाजी प्रेम की मैं खेलूं पी के संग, जीत गई तो पिया मोरे, हारी पी के संग. I play the game of love with my beloved. If I win, the beloved is mine. If I am defeated, I am his. खुसरो दरिया प्रेम का उल्टी वा की धार, जो उतरा सो डूब गया, जो डूबा so par. The river of love runs in a strange way. One who crosses it drowns, and one who drowns gets across. You are invited to meditate on the Maxim to reach a personal understanding of it. Internalize the words so that hidden facets and nuances of meaning may unfold within. Practice it so that its efficacy can be genuinely witnessed.